Hello, je suis Victoria et j'ai 24 ans. Chaque semaine, j'embarque mon micro jeune et je pars à la rencontre de personnes inspirantes pour poser mes questions sur ce qui fait nos vies, dans un monde où l'on se cherche et où on questionne notre avenir. J'espère qu'écouter le parcours et les conseils de ces personnes qui ont rêvé et osé faire de leur rêve une réalité t'aidera toi aussi à avancer d'un pied plus sûr dans la vie. Alors je t'invite à emprunter un nouvel œil pour regarder le monde sous un autre angle, pour te recentrer sur ce qui est essentiel et sur qui tu es, pour t'aider à trouver ton chemin et surtout, à oser. Ce podcast est la version originale de mon entretien avec Satish Kumar. La version traduite en français suivra sa publication.
You meditate, who am I? Who am I? And you expand your consciousness. So you have to trust. Trust is the way to overcome fear. Loving yourself is not selfish. Loving yourself is to recognize your true qualities and true being. Cultivate your potential.
He's a child of nature. This nature that gives him so much energy every day. Satish is 86 years old, and I never crossed the path of someone as full of energy as him. His secret? Being into the nature every day without worrying about anything. Because worrying disperses energy, and if you don't worry, you live in the present moment. By cultivating trust, Satish drops the fear and do his best whatever he is doing in the moment. He named it the art of simplicity, and he changes the world with this art. He says that having no time is a propaganda. Time always comes, it never runs out. There is no reason to rush, and slow down allows us to go further. Time is not our enemy. It's my first interview in English, and it was a dream for me to ask questions to one of the most inspiring people on the earth. It took me almost 3 days to digest my meet with Satish, as it was so powerful. With Satish in this episode, we talk about nature, spirituality, and simplicity. I hope that this podcast will cultivate the art of simplicity within yourself. Are you ready, Satish?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. Hi, Satish.
Hello, Victoria. Nice to meet you.
Me too. What a pleasure to be with you here. It's my first interview in English, so I'm a bit stressed, but so happy to be with you, Satish. My excuse in advance for my accent. I have a very big French accent.
Yeah. If you speak slowly, I understand.
Perfect. Satish, you are an Indian activist, writer and promoter of voluntary simplicity. Your best-known action was a peaceful march of more than 12,000 kilometers, linking the capitals of 4 nuclear-armed countries in 1962. So you went by foot to New Delhi, Moscow, Paris, London, and Washington to defend peace in the world. You actually started walking very early, because when you were 9 years old, you left your family to become a Jain monk. So what kind of child were you, Satish?
I was a curious child. And I was very much blessed by having a wonderful mother. My mother was a naturalist. She loved plants. She loved trees. She was a gardener. She had 4 or 5 acres of garden. And she grew lots of melons and vegetables and grain, millets and so on. And so as a child, I grew close to nature. My mother also loved walking. And so I always walked with my mother. And so I'm a child of nature. Beautiful. And nature is my love from the childhood. And being out in nature gives me great joy. And my mind, my health, body, heart, feelings, they're all nourished by being in nature. So I was very lucky to be brought up by my mother who loved nature.
You say that the nature is the best teacher. Which richness do we find in nature?
My mother used to teach me that a honey bee is your teacher. Honey bee goes from flower to flower, taking little nectar here, a little nectar there, never too much. Never ever a flower has complained that the honey bee took too much nectar away. This is what we should learn. We should learn to take from nature little, only to meet our basic needs.
The art of simplicity.
Art of simplicity. So never too much, so that we leave nature for other creatures to be sustained and to be nourished. And then once you have taken something, you make no waste and no pollution. For example, honey bee takes nectar and then transforms that nectar into sweet, delicious, healing honey. So when we take something from nature, we should transform that into work of art, or work of craft, or work of music, or work of nourishment, good food, good house, beautiful. So this was teaching from nature. Nature is our teacher. The other example is an apple tree. An apple tree gives apples to everyone without any discrimination. Whether you are a king or a beggar, whether you are a priest or a prisoner, you are a saint or a sinner, everybody, human or animal, birds or bees, all living beings can take apples without any discrimination.
So finally, abundance is in very, very few things.
Yes. So if we can learn this lesson of generosity and abundance from apple tree, then nature becomes our teacher.
Apart from the love of nature, your mother teaches you spirituality.
Yes.
What link do you make between nature and spirituality?
Nature and spirituality are one, because nature is made of two aspects, physical and metaphysical, material and spiritual. So a tree is made of wood, but also a tree spirit, nature spirit. Like human body is made of human body and human spirit. Human beings are made of human body and human spirit. So there's nothing which is free or without spirit. Everything has a body and a spirit. Matter and spirit, they go together. That's what life is. Life is not just dead matter. There's nothing, we cannot survive. So I would say spirit is related to life, and that life is consciousness.
But how can we learn to feel the spirit in everything?
We can learn to feel it by opening our eyes, opening our consciousness, and seeing the tree is a living organism. Tree has a shelter for birds, shelter for humans. It gives fruit, leaves, branches for the service of humanity, in the service of other living beings and creatures. And so this mutuality, reciprocity are integral part of nature. Nature is not just dead rock or dead machine. Nature is a living organism. Nature is conscious. Nature is intelligent. William Blake, the great British poet, said that nature is imagination itself. Shakespeare said that tongues in trees, which means trees speak to you. Books in running brooks, which means the rivers and the streams are like a living books. And sermons in stones means stones can teach you resilience and love and patience. And good in everything. That's a spirituality. The goodness is spirituality. Beauty is spirituality. Truth is spirituality. So spirituality is not religion. Spirituality is not in the books. Spirituality is not in the church or temple or mosque or synagogue. Spirituality is in everything. Spirituality is a part of our existence. Our heart, our our consciousness, our love, our compassion, our kindness is spirituality.
You also learned this spirituality by being a Jain monk. Like I said, you left your family very early, at 9 years old, to become a Jain monk. How being a monk helped you to drop the fear?
Yeah. As a monk, I learned to cultivate courage. And I learned to cultivate trust. And trust is the antidote to fear. When you trust somebody, you don't fear. You trust nature, you don't fear. You trust forest, you don't fear. You trust mountains, you don't fear. So as a monk, I was taught to learn
To trust.
And you can learn anything. Like you can learn to play piano, you can learn to play violin, you can learn to speak English or French, you can learn to love.
You can learn from yourself too.
You can learn from yourself, but also you can learn from teachers. And you can learn from nature. So you are nature. So you learn from yourself, and you learn from nature, and you learn from teachers, because we are one. So, of course, we cannot learn unless we open our heart, we open our mind, and want to learn. If you want to learn French or English, you have to want to learn. And then a teacher can teach you. So a tree can teach you, but you have to open your eyes, you open your consciousness and say, tree, I want to learn from you. Who are you? What are you? What are you doing? So you ask these questions, and tree can speak to you in a tree language. Tree may not speak English, but tree speaks tree English. So we have to learn to listen to nature. And that's how so as a Jain monk, for 9 years, I was a monk and no money. We have no money, you have to trust. People will give you food. People give you shelter. People give you clothes. So you have to trust. And so trust is the way to overcome fear.
Another way to overcome fear is love.
Yeah.
And learning to love ourselves is the very first thing to learn, because when we don't love ourselves, we want to possess things. We tend to, fill the gap by consuming things and making things. So how do we learn to love ourselves?
You learn to love yourself. It's a very important point, because we have to start to learn ourselves. We have to learn to love ourselves.
Yeah, it's the very first thing to learn, actually.
First thing to learn is to love yourself. Love thyself. So in order to love yourself, you have to know yourself. Know thyself.
Very tricky question, right?
Yeah. You have to learn to know who you are. Who am I?
How do we learn it?
How do you learn it? So you meditate. You say, who am I? My name is Satish. But I'm more than Satish. There are many other Satishes. Who am I? I'm Indian. There are many Indians. Who am I? I'm a Hindu. There are many Hindus. I'm more than a Satish. I'm more than Indian. I'm more than Hindu. I'm more than Jain. I'm more than Buddhist. I'm more than all the kind of labels that I have. So then you go deeper and say, I'm a spirit. I'm consciousness. I'm imagination. And then you go deeper. And you see that trees, without the trees giving me oxygen, I will not be here. So I'm related to trees. Without water, drinking water, I will not be here. So I'm water. And without the fire in my body, the warmth in my body, I will not be here. So fire I am. And the sun I am. Without the sun, I will not survive. So you expand your consciousness. And then as a Jain monk, I learned that the whole world is inside me. And I am in the whole world. So this relationship is I learned, because I am made of everything. I'm made of earth, air, fire, water, sunshine, stars, galaxies. So I'm a microcosm of macrocosm. So when you have that unity of life, then separation ends. And there's no separation, then there's no suffering.
And no fear.
End of suffering, end of fear. Exactly. So you learn that by meditation. You meditate, who am I? who am I? And you expand your consciousness, and you have a magnanimous mind where you include everything in yourself. Then you have no enemies, and then you have nobody to hate, and you cultivate love. And so you can learn by meditating upon yourself. And loving yourself is not ego. Loving yourself is not selfish. Loving yourself is to recognize your true qualities and true being and cultivate your potential. You can be a great poet, you can be a great painter, you can be a great musician, you can be a great teacher, you can be whatever you want to be, because all the potential is there. So your courage and your trust is within you. You don't have to go to Gallery Lafayette to buy courage or trust or love. It's all within you. You have to cultivate and let it emerge.
But actually, sometimes it's hard to cultivate ourselves because when we are at school, we don't learn to meditate. We don't learn to trust ourselves. And sometimes when I talk about meditation to people around me, they say, okay, but how are you doing? It's tricky things. It's weird. So sometimes meditation is like a weird word for some people. So how can we put meditation in center of our society and in school and in program in every school?
Yeah. Meditation is not just sitting down for half an hour and closing your eyes. Meditation is to be mindful of everything you are doing. Mindful of your relationship with others, with other people, and with trees and animals and birds and the whole world. So living mindfully, living heartfully is meditation. So in order to practice that kind of meditation, you start by being focusing and concentrating and contemplating half an hour every morning. So I would like to see schools embracing a period of meditation. So when your school day begins, say 9 or 8 a.m. in the morning, then people should sit together in a circle, or every class. I think it's better to have each class having their own meditation. So sit in a circle for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever time you have, sit in silence. And that collective silence together has a very great power. And then maybe somebody reads something, a beautiful spiritual poem, or a good a Rumi or William Blake or any great teacher. Maybe in France you have some great spiritual poetry. So read some poetry, or somebody can sing a beautiful song about beauty, about truth, about goodness, about spirituality, about trees, anything like that. So if you start your day. And then other thing I would like to see, every school should have a garden. So the children going out in nature and seeing the miracle of nature, that you plant one seed in the ground, like a tomato seed, so small, tiny, tiny seed, and that seed goes into the soil, and that seed comes as a plant, and that plant has flowers, and those flowers turn into a tomato, and each tomato is green, and then it becomes red, and it becomes juicy,
it's
and
magic.
becomes sweet, and it has many, many more seeds in it. How did that happen? Children should learn that miracle of nature. That's a meditation. So meditation is to being contemplative, being focused, being mindful, being heartful, being in relationship.
But if we want to cultivate mindfulness, we have to learn to take time. And I really feel that in our modern society, we don't have enough time. We always say, I don't have enough time. So why do we so often say that we miss time?
We don't have time is a propaganda. We have been taught by the media and the industrial system and a kind of society that you don't have time. But it's a complete lie. When God made time, he or she or they made plenty of it.
Yeah.
Time is eternal. I've lived 86 years.
Yeah.
86 years of time to learn, to love, to trust, to be a poet, to be a singer, to be a dancer, to be a gardener, to be a cook. I can do whatever I want to do. So there is no shortage of time. Time is only in our mind that we have a shortage of time. There are two kinds of times. One is called dream time.
Yeah.
Aboriginal people in Australia have a word called dream time. And dream time is without measure. Dream time is beyond your clock time, beyond your hours and minutes and days and weeks and years. All that is measured time. So there are two kinds of time, measured time and dream time. So we need to also learn to live in dream time. And when you are living in dream time, there is no limit. You can do what you like, and whatever you are doing, you do it properly. Don't feel any pressure of time. Like we are talking now, I have no idea of time. I'm just here, fully present, plenty of time to talk. And so I think we should free ourselves from this burden and this prejudice, this propaganda that I have no time, I have no time. You have plenty of time. Do whatever you are doing, do it well, do it properly, do it mindfully, do it heartfully, do it lovingly, do it imaginatively, do it creatively. Don't do it in a rush, because there is no rush. There is no rush.
And you also say that living a simple life creates time.
Yes.
For yourself. So how do we learn to live simply? How do we learn simplicity?
You learn to simplicity by saying, what do I really need? Rather than greed. Shift from greed to need. Shift from greed to grace. So when you say, what do I really need? I need a plate full of food. I don't need to fill the freezers and fridges and store food
and
too
supermarkets.
much. Huh?
And supermarkets.
And supermarkets and so on. And so in the same way, I need a couple of pairs of shoes and a few, 2, 3, 4 shirts and maybe a few other clothes. And that's it. I don't need a wardrobe full of clothes. Because if you have too much, means you have to work hard to earn money. You have to work hard to buy things, then store them, look after them. That's where the time goes.
Yes, and then you have no time.
Yeah, then you have no time because you are working to earn money, and then you are shopping to have more things, and then you are washing them, cleaning them, looking after them. All your time goes. You have no time for poetry, no time for music, no time to go out in nature. And so Elegant Simplicity is my book, and I am. If you read that book, you will see how we can simplify our life, because it is an art, it is a craft to simplify your life. Any fool can make things complicated. It requires a genius to make things simple. So you have to discover your genius, the how I can live simply and comfortably and elegantly and joyfully, but without burden of things. If you have too many houses, you have to look after them. You have too many cars, you have to look after them. Too many gadgets, you have to look after them. Too many clothes, you have to look after them. So have few, but have beautiful.
Is it only through meditation that you discovered your own genius?
Meditation is one way to discover.
Is there other ways?
Paying attention. Paying attention.
But paying attention is meditation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a form of meditation.
So you can say that you have to be mindful, you have to be heartful, you have to be conscious, you have to be aware, you have to pay attention, and that is a kind of meditation. So yes, in order to discover elegant simplicity, and in order to discover your interrelationship with nature, and in order to discover that you can trust the universe, for all these things, you have to become aware, you have to pay attention, and that is meditation.
How do we shift from having to being?
Our society focuses on having.
Yeah.
And I, in my book, saying that being gives you more fulfillment and happiness. Having gives you discontentment and dissatisfaction, because however much you have is never enough. You want more. You want more. If you have 1,000 euros, you want 10,000 euros. You have 10,000 euros, you want 100,000 euros. If you have 100,000 euros, you want million euros. So
never enough.
Never enough. So whatever you have is never enough. You have a little position, little power. You want more power. You want more control. You want more fame. You want more name. You become more famous. So having creates discontentment. Dissatisfaction is never enough. But being, so rather than having a lover, I say be a lover. Rather than having a friend, I say be a friend. Rather than having a husband, be a wife. Rather than having a wife, be a husband. So when you are being, you can be who you are. And there is a kind of, you don't have to seek for anything. You already are.
And does it mean that we have no desire?
Your desires are less. And your desires are desire for something good, like desire for peace, desire for love, desire for kindness, desire for arts, desire for crafts, desire for poetry, for music, for good things. But you don't have desire, I want more power, I want more name, I want more fame, I want more houses, I want better car, I want more money, I want to have a different kind of wife, I want to have different husband. I'm always unhappy. So desires are two kinds. One desire is coming out of being, and the other desire is coming from idea of having. I want to have more, more, more. So if you have a desire for being, then you can be, and then you are already fulfilled, you are self-realized, and you are contented, you are happy. So being, I have written about having and being, but also I learned from Erich Fromm.
So
Erich Fromm wrote a book called To Have or To Be, and that book gives me good teaching about having or being.
So your position is that we also need some part of desire to be great in our life. And Schumacher wrote Learn the Miracle of Life. And Schumacher's position is that we have to cultivate non-attachment in everything and no desire to cultivate freedom.
Yes. So cultivate freedom is to cultivate relationship rather than possession. When you possess something, you want to possess, that's a having. Yeah, I want to possess this chair. I want to possess this microphone. I want to possess a person. Possessiveness, desire of possess or desire to possess is a desire for which we need freedom. But a desire to relate, or not a desire, but understanding that I am related. I am in relationship with everything. I'm in relationship with trees, with people, with houses, with clothes. They're all relationships rather than ownership. So it's a kind of shifting from the idea of ownership to the idea of relationship. Then you are free. Relationship frees you. Ownership kind of imprisons you, kind of controls you. You become slave of your desires if you want to possess. But you are free in relationship. Because relationship is not... So, for example, if two people want to get married, I say to them, marriage is not merger. Marriage is coming in partnership together. So 1 + 1 is not 2. 1 + 1 is 11. Like this. 11. And so... we need to shift our attention from the idea of ownership to idea of relationship, and that will give us freedom.
So do you also mean that freedom is learning to letting go our ego?
Yeah.
Because it's our ego that pushes us to win more things and do more things and having things and possess things. So how do we learn to detach ourselves from ego?
We learn to detach ourselves from ego because ego separates. I'm better than you. I'm different from you. I'm different from the trees. I'm better than trees. If you want to be free of ego, then you have to say that I am in relationship with my neighbors and I cannot exist without my neighbors. And trees are my neighbors, people are my neighbors, they are my colleagues. They all have intrinsic value. They have equal value. There is no superiority. It's a mutuality. It's a relationship. It's a reciprocity. It's togetherness. And the love is the way to free yourself from ego. So I always want ego separates, eco unites. So shift from ego to eco. Make
Economy
a change of one
to
letter
economy.
from G to C.
Yeah.
And eco means house, home. Ecos, ecology means management of home. Ecology means it's a knowledge of home, and economy means management of home. So eco means home, and home is a place of relationship. It's not ownership, it's a relationship. Mother, father, children, neighbors, everything is a relationship. So move from ego to eco, from this idea that I'm separate from others. No separation. We are all related. We are all connected. We are interbeings.
Yeah.
If you have that idea, then you are free.
Satish, I met you for the movie Enquête de sens by Marc de la Ménardière.
Yeah.
And in this movie, you said, when you leave university, do not seek a job, go and create a job. And this sentence was like, oh my God, when I heard it. So how do we create our own job?
You create your own job by your own imagination. So imagine, first of all, what you want to do in your life. Then you have two hands.
Yeah.
And these two hands are miracle. They can transform anything ordinary into extraordinary. You can take a piece of clay and you can turn that into beautiful pots and you can become a potter. You can take a piece of wood and you can turn it into a beautiful furniture and you can become a carpenter or a furniture maker. You can put brick upon brick and stone upon stone and a wood upon wood and build a beautiful house. So you can put a seed in the ground from your hands and you can create a tree, an orchard, a garden. Examples are many. So your body, your two hands, your imagination, your creativity, your courage will give you opportunity to make something. You are not simply a consumer. You are a maker. You are a poet. You are an artist. So if you think yourself as an artist and a poet and a maker and a creator and a craftsperson, then you can start a beautiful restaurant, you can start a beautiful bookshop, you can start a publishing house, you can write a book, you can become a painter, you can become a dancer, you can teach dancing, you can do what you like. Anybody who can speak can also sing, and you can be a singer. Anybody who can walk can also dance, and you can be a dancer. And you can earn your living by a great dancer. You can earn your living by being a great singer. You can earn your living by being a great gardener. You can earn your living by being a great builder, a great potter, a great carpenter, a great writer. There are thousands of things you can do. There's no limit. Your imagination and your creativity and your body can give you everything. So have that courage. And have trust in yourself.
Yeah,
if you don't trust yourself,
yeah.
you cannot succeed. This is why we don't trust ourselves. So we say, an employer will give me a job. Employer will give me my salary. And that salary will buy my house. And that salary will buy my clothes. And that salary will buy my pots and pans. And that salary will take me to a theater and I can look somebody dancing. I want you not to be a consumer, but be a maker. Be a creator.
Yeah, because it's easier to wait for others to say to ourselves what to do. Because build our own confidence and self-confidence is a work.
Exactly.
It's hard.
Exactly. So when I say to young students leaving university, I am saying to them that build your confidence. Self-confidence. You are capable of miracles. You are capable of great things. And people like Picasso or Beethoven or Bach or Van Gogh or any great writer and poet and painter and musician and any great farmer or great gardener, they all had self-confidence. They believed in themselves. So our young people don't believe in themselves.
No.
They don't believe that I am capable of doing whatever I want to do. So they believe in a company. They believe in a business. They believe in an employer. They believe some boss will give you a job and that will feed you. So believe in yourself. Have trust in yourself and love yourself. And then you can do what you want to do.
But for it, we need more and more and more people like you to say, you have to believe in yourself.
Yes,
and we miss it in school.
Yeah. Our children need to learn this, that I can believe in myself and I can believe what I want to do and I can believe in my action and that will be successful. And I also say that it's not easy.
No.
Believing in yourself and being self-reliant and standing on your own feet and being your own master of your own life,
it's really hard.
CEO of your own life.
It's hard.
It's hard. But I want young people to take a hard path. I don't want young people to take an easy way. And a kind of easy way is not going to make you a great to do any great task, you have to go through some hard and difficult process, like climbing a great mountain. It's hard, but people want to do it. And when you do it, you feel a great sense of satisfaction and a joy. I climbed the Mount Everest or whatever. I climbed the Mount Alps. And so whatever work you do, whether writing a book or becoming a dancer or learning to play piano or learning to play violin or whatever you want to do, it's hard. But it
takes time.
And takes time. But I want young people not to worry or fear hardship. And you are capable of doing hard work, and you are capable of reaching height. You are capable of climbing Mount Everest.
And if we were all CEO of our own life, then non-violence will go out, right?
Non-violence is the first principle of life. Because when you become a doctor, you take the Hippocratic oath, doing no harm. First, do no harm. That is the Hippocratic oath. So all of us are free to do whatever we want to do. Complete freedom. Only one condition or one restriction. Do no harm to yourself. Do no harm to your fellow human beings. And do no harm to nature. If you do no harm, then all is free. You can do what you like. So non-violence is simply doing no harm, no damage. So at the moment we are harming nature, we are polluting our oceans, we are polluting our rivers, we are cutting down our rainforest, we are putting animals in factory farms, and our climate is changing, the environment is changing, and so all that is doing harm to nature. And then we are doing harm to other people because we are exploiting human beings. In business, we say humans are a resource for the economic growth. HR, human resources. This is harm to people. Yeah. Turning human people into a resource for making money, making profit, running an organization. I always say to business organizations that change HR from human resources to human relationship. In the same way, I say to people, the nature is not a resource for the economy. Nature is a source of life itself. So if you see nature as a source of life and you see human as a dignified being, then economy, profit, money, production, consumption, they become the means to an end. And the end is human dignity and integrity of nature. Whereas at the moment, nature is a resource for the economy, humans are a resource for the economy has become the master, and humans and nature have become the servant.
No sense,
that
right?
we need to change.
Yeah, really. Satish, you're 86 years old, and you are full of energy. So I want to learn from you. What are your secret life?
Difficult to say.
Yeah.
But first of all, I would say that my source of energy is that I don't worry. Because worrying dissipates energy. But if you don't worry, you live in the present moment and do best whatever you are doing at that moment. There's no shortage of time, as we have already talked about it. So no pressure, no worry. Do what is in hand to best of your ability with full energy, full attention, fully mindful, fully heartful, and do it lovingly. And that's one source of energy. The other source of energy is nature. I walk in nature, I look at nature,
Every day?
be with nature every day. I'm in the garden, I'm by the river, I'm by the sea, somewhere I'm in nature. And that gives my mental health and physical health, and my energy level keeps high. And then I'm also inspired by people. When I meet people, I enjoy meeting, and young people inspire me. And so not worrying and being in nature and doing best of your ability, whatever is in hand, is the source of my energy.
But sometimes being worried is part of life. We are sad. We can feel fear for some things. It's normal, right?
My practice in my life is, if something needs to be done, then take action. If there is something like climate change is happening, worrying about climate change is not going to stop climate change. What can I do to help the movement working to reduce the carbon emission? What can I do to help? So I always think, what action can I take? Worrying about anything is not going to solve the problem. The problem will be solved a little bit by action. So action is a source of energy rather than worry. Worry reduces energy, dissipates energy, and action creates energy.
Okay, crazy. Do you have some habits, like waking up early or doing some sports?
Yeah. I don't wake up too early. I wake up something like 6 a.m. in the morning.
It's quite early.
Okay. And then my habit is that every morning with my wife, June, we read some spiritual text every morning. That's our meditation.
Every morning?
Every morning together. We have read hundreds of books together. Spiritual books. Buddhist, Jain, Hindu, Christian, poetry, art, anything. From Japanese Zen to Tao, Chinese Tao, Tao Te Ching, anything. So spiritual books we read every day. That's our habit. That's what practice we do. Then we have tea together, and we spend an hour or so together in the morning. And so that's a very good. So my wife and I have been together in our lives for now more than 50 years.
Wow.
And every single day when we are together, we read. From the very beginning, since we met, from the very first meeting, we have been reading together. That's our habit.
Is love the meaning of life?
Love is the essence of life. Love is the meaning of life. Like you have lavender. Lavender has two aspects. One is the plant, and the other is fragrance. So love is the fragrance of life.
Beautiful.
So life has body, like a plant, and the fragrance is the love. So if you love in your heart, and you love your fellow human beings, and you love your beloved, your wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, your children, and you love nature, and you love yourself.
Love is everywhere.
Of all, that is the fragrance of the flower. That's the fragrance of lavender. And so without love, life is without fragrance.
Satish, we touched the end of this interview. I will ask you one last question. What advice do you want to share to new generations?
My advice to new generation is to cultivate trust, which we have already talked about, and be self-reliant.
What do you mean by that?
Self-reliant means in relationship, you need two self-reliant entities. Like you are interviewing me and I'm giving answers. You are a whole person. You have your own consciousness, your own imagination, your own creativity, your own body. You have your own eyes, you have your ears. You have everything. You are self-reliant. You are not reliant on me or my eyes to look at something, or you are not reliant on my hands to do something. You have your own hand. And then we can have a relationship. You and I can look at each other. You can look at some books together. You can look at the garden together. We can listen to each other. So relationship requires self-reliant, autonomous individuals cultivating their own courage. So that's what I want to advise our young people. And also what we have already talked about, believe in yourself.
Yes!
Yeah, believe in yourself. You are capable of miracles.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Satish. Wish you the best.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Merci à toi d'avoir écouté l'épisode jusqu'ici. Si ce moment t'a plu, je t'invite à le partager, à laisser quelques étoiles sur iTunes ou Spotify, ou à faire une story sur Instagram pour que je puisse te repartager. En attendant de se retrouver lundi prochain, tu peux me suivre au quotidien et m'écrire sur la page Instagram Nouvel Oeil. Sur le site internet www.nouveloeil-podcast.com, tu pourras aussi t'abonner à ma newsletter. J'y partage des inspirations, des nouvelles, des astuces et des petites choses qui font notre quotidien. Je te dis à la semaine prochaine pour de nouvelles aventures et en attendant, savoure la vie comme il se doit et fais des choses folles.